Hi, I'm Lori the Herbchick, and today we're going to talk about extracts and tinctures. Hi, are you confused about the difference between an extract and a tincture and which one's better than the other? I always was. So today we're just going to talk a little bit about them, and I'm going to make a tincture of teasel. The other day I posted a video about teasel, how to identify it, where you can find it, and different medicinal uses for it. So today we're just going to make a little video on that. The big thing to remember is that all tinctures are extracts. However, not all extracts are tinctures. That's where I get stuck, and many other people do as well. An extract is any herb or plant or pretty much anything that is put into a solvent to pull certain constituents out of it. So anyone that's taken chemistry, especially in college or AP or organic chemistry, knows that you have a solvent and a solute. So the solute is what you put into the solvent to get the stuff out. Now that can be liquid, that can be gas, because some things are forcefully extracted with steam or certain gases. And we'll get into that another time, but right now we're going to deal with this. So today we're going to make an extract of teasel root. I dug these teasel roots last week when I was out identifying the plants. I'm very lucky in that I have family who owns organic farmland, so I felt super comfortable digging the roots up out of that field. So hopefully you guys can see what I've got going on here. I am super big into reusing everything possible. When I was a kid, you know, it was the middle of the 70s, early 80s. I grew up out on a farm, and we reused jars as much as possible. Now, while this jar will not reseal, the seal is not working, I would not suggest to try to can or preserve this way. They do work for extracts because they've got just a tight enough seal that it will keep all the liquid inside the jar. You'll have very little spillage, and it keeps the air out as well. However, it's not going to vacuum seal like in a warm water bath can or anything. So these are my roots that I gathered, and roots work a little different than if you were doing a leaf extract. You want to clean them really, really well. These guys have been scrubbed multiple times in water, all the dirt gotten off them. They were pretty clumpy, and mainly what we're going to do is we're going to get off the woody stuff. Now ideally you want to gather your medicinal roots in either the fall or the spring before there is a flower. They say that is because the chemical constituents and the properties that you're looking for, if you wait until after it flowers, all of those chemical constituents are up in the plant, and energetically they say that the energy is being directed into the reproductive processes of the flower. So we want to make sure that we get as much as we can, so we're going to take it off the root. Some people who make their own extracts do suggest taking off these fine little hairs, but since I have a finite amount of the root available here, I'm going to use them, and I just cutting off all these little dried up ends that really don't have anything in them. You don't need those. You want to have a super sharp knife for roots. Don't tell my husband this is his fish fillet knife. Anybody that goes fishing and cleans fish knows you have to have a super sharp knife, especially if you're filleting catfish. I prefer panfish with scales, so if it's kosher, I'll eat it. So yeah, and we want to cut these pieces up nice and small. Now what this does with this root is it allows more surface area to get in with our solvent. Now the solvent that I'm going to use today is 100 proof vodka. When you look at a commercially prepped and sold extract, tinctures, which this always confused me. Tinctures are made with an alcohol solvent. So tinctures are extracts, but extracts are not necessarily tinctures. Now, do you understand what that means? Extracts can be made with alcohol. Extracts can be made with vinegar. They can be made with just water. They can be made with glycerin. It just kind of depends what you're wanting to do with them. Now, the ones that I make for myself here at home, by the way, I am not registered as a supplement manufacturer, so therefore what I gather and sell is sold as dried tea stock, for herbal teas, or I make my own extracts and such for myself and my family. That may change at some point, I don't know, but right now that's the way it is in the United States of America. In order to sell remedies to anyone, outside of family and friends, helping them out, you must be registered as a supplement manufacturer, and that is not something I'm ready to jump into. So yeah, we're just going to go ahead and cut up this teasel root into small little pieces. And teasel root is one of the more tough ones. If you get a first-year plant before it starts shooting off flower stalks and flower heads, the root's going to be a little more tender, but it still tends to be pretty tough. So we're just going to chop this up into smaller pieces so that we can have lots of surface area to get that solvent of my 100 proof vodka to work. Now, if you want ethanol, what I was going to say is when you're reading the labels at a health food store and you pick up a tincture, which is also an extract, and it tells you that it is in ethanol, ethanol. It is an extract in ethanol that is in 100 proof liquor of some type. So that could be rum, that could be vodka, but your clear 100 proof alcohols are what you want to use. Now, we're just going to cover this. Now, this is a very, very small jar. Normally, you want to do a 1-to-1 mixture. However, you want to make sure, regardless of whether you have a little bit or a whole lot in this jar, you want to have all of it covered by the vodka. Now, if you don't, you have a little bit of it sticking out and it's not all down into your solvent, and this goes for vinegar, water, glycerin, any of them. If you have any of these that is not completely submersed underneath there, you will get a weird, gross, scummy film across the top. Nobody wants that. So you get about a 1-to-1 in here. So you want, if you have a big jar, it'd be 1 cup to 1 cup. So 1 cup of your plant matter to 1 cup of the solvent that you're going to use. So I've gotten here about a 1/4 cup to a 1/4 cup. Now, some places won't tell you this. You want to go ahead and shake this up. Okay? I'm going to shake it so that everything is good and in there. You've got your plant matter soaking. And then we're going to label it. Always, my marker slid underneath here. Always label what you have in here, because 6 months from now when you pull this up to use it, you're not going to remember what you stuck in that jar. As much as you want to, you're not going to remember. I only have 1 jar that I did not mark with the name of what it was, and that is because it's cayenne, and I grew the cayenne, so I don't have to say where it came from. I do have the date on it, though, and yeah. So we're going to mark this as teasel. I'm going to put today's date on it, because that's when it was made. I'm going to put the gathered date on it, because sometimes you gather it, well, a day or 2 before you make the extract. and then I'm going to put the done date. Most extracts sit for about 6 months. Sometimes you can have them done a little sooner. So 6 months, we're looking at... Now that we have all our information marked on the jar, you're going to want to put this into a cabinet where there's no light exposure to cut down on the possibilities of it going bad. And about every week or so, you're in that cabinet getting out something else, you want to give all your extracts a little shake, okay? Just to make sure that everything stays underneath the solvent, just to make sure that everything gets extracted nicely. Do not use it until your done date. As always, smell it. Make sure it does not smell rotten or bad. If you're using 100 proof ethanol of some sort, the possibilities of it going bad, of course, are lessened. Vinegar is also a very good solvent depending on what you're trying to extract, and you'll have more of a chance of spoilage with water or glycerin than what you will with vinegar or 100 proof ethanol. Also, if you make a tincture with 100 proof ethanol and you want to give it to a child and say that the alcohol content is not what you desire, you can put a little bit into a small glass or a small jar. Now, don't do this to your whole bottle because you'll have to refrigerate it afterwards. But you can take that extract and put it into what you're going to use very quickly. Put it into a small jar or small glass. Set that into a pan of boiling water. Let the alcohol evaporate off. It's a similar process to how they used to heat up baby bottles, in the pan of hot water. And then you will have to lid that very tightly and keep it in the refrigerator because there is nothing in there to prevent the growth of molds and fungi and that type of thing. So you want to make sure that you keep that tight, lidded, and in your refrigerator. Have fun making tinctures. Don't forget, tinctures are extracts, but not all extracts are tinctures. Till next time. Hey, you, don't go away yet. If you want to see more of what I've got to share with you, you need to smash that like button on this. If you're watching this on Facebook, you need to follow my page, or if you're watching it on YouTube, you need to subscribe. I got lots in this noggin and it's ready to share with you. Make sure you hit those buttons. And if you're really feeling froggy, go to my website, www.herbchickonline.com. You won't be sorry.